All right, welcome back, everybody. Today's guest, Charlie Hyatt. He's the owner of Innovative Rod and Custom. He's also the builder of probably the best shop car I could ever imagine, the '69 Plymouth Valiant. If you're a regular listener, you know, big fan of the Valiant because it's basically the sedan version of my Duster. It never got any love because it really wasn't a muscle car. It was kind of a cheap grocery getter, I guess. So I guarantee you never seen a Valiant like Charlie's. I'm happy to have him on the show and learn more about it. So welcome to the show, Charlie.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so tell us about I guess yourself and what is Innovative Rod and Custom.
So I guess I'm Charlie Hyatt, here in Prior Lake, Minnesota. Um, I grew up around cars and, kind of always had a car project, whatever you want to call it. And I guess ever since I was really young, my dad had a few, throughout the years too. Um, Went to college for doing street rods and muscle cars at a small town in western Minnesota. Ended up getting a degree in rod custom and restoration,
Hmm.
and then worked at a couple different local shops here. One of them I worked at for almost 10 years, and then he passed. The owner passed a few years ago, and after that kind of decided to do my own thing, and six going on 7 years later, here we are with Innovative Rod and Custom.
Well, that's
So
cool. I didn't. So is that like a Votech school that you went to?
yeah, it was they actually don't offer the program anymore. It was called Minnesota West Community and Tech School.
Okay.
And I graduated would have been '09, and then the last year of the school was 2010, and then they only had, like, if I remember right, it was 7 kids that graduated. And so they just couldn't, the funding obviously wasn't there to support the program.
Yeah.
Yeah, way out western Minnesota, town of like 2,000 people, farming community. It just kind of was a little out of place. But it, I looked at Wyotech, I looked at UTI, and frankly, I love my mom and dad, but they were, we'll help you, but we're not paying for it. And anybody who does this knows how expensive those are.
Hmm.
And Minnesota West was quite a bit cheaper, and I went there for 2 years for a fraction of the money of Wyotech, and got me my sheet of paper that got me my first job in the industry.
Yeah. Does Wyotech even offer like a hot rod program, or is it mostly just mechanics or welding or?
No, they do. They have a hot rod section,
Okay.
but it was like, you had to do paint, and then you had to do upholstery, and then it wasn't where my interests lie. I'll say that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, growing up, did you and your father have an affinity to a certain brand or generation of cars?
No, not particularly. I kind of, looking back on it, we did have some cool Mopars,
Hmm.
but there was not anything particular. He had a 53 Studebaker, a 40 Ford Coupe, a 38 Ford truck,
Hmm.
67 Chevelle. Nothing real particular. So,
What was your first hot rod?
so my dad had a 71 Dodge D100 or D200 camper special
Oh,
that
cool.
he had when I was real little.
Hmm.
And he sold it to a coworker of his, and then he actually bought it back for me on my 16th birthday, and
Hmm.
told me I had to make payments to him until it was paid off. So that was like the first one, and I did. I paid it off, and then the first one I really like bought on my own was the 1936 Ford 5-window coupe.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
So then I ended up bringing that to tech school and worked on it in tech school out there for the 2 years, and brought it home, and it never got finished, but that was the first one.
Well, that's cool. You get to work on your own stuff at that school, though. Huh?
Yeah, it
That's
was neat. It was
yeah.
neat. I think some of the kids, they may have abused the grants they got for working on their hot rods, but to each their own,
Right. Yeah. I promise. Part of the school is I need this big
right?
stroker motor.
Yeah.
So what do y'all? I mean, obviously the name's a little descriptive of what y'all do, but
Right.
what kind of summarize what y'all mostly focus on?
So we'll do pretty much everything, with the exception of paint and body work.
Mm,
So a lot of our business has shifted to a ton of mechanical stuff right now because it just cracked into springtime.
mm,
So we've got three currently in the shop and four that were here today that we're doing tuning and like initial break-in stuff on. We do a ton of electrical stuff, whether it's diagnostic and repair or full rewires. And then tons of Gen 3 Hemi, Coyote, LS stuff. And then we also do quite a bit of chassis fab / install where we're doing sheet metal on the floors and all that stuff. So
Okay.
realistically, and the easiest way to say it is pretty much everything but spreading mud and painting in a paint booth.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah. Which is probably one of the more time consuming functions,
for sure.
you know. So,
Hey, I just hate the mess, man. I mean, you got to have your own building for that. And, not that every car that comes in here is super duper expensive, but there's some of them that last thing I want to do is get them covered in a bunch of dust.
hmm. Oh
So
yeah.
trying to mitigate that as much as we can, obviously.
Yeah. I did I built my entire car in my garage, so all the body and paint happened in there.
Right.
Cleaned it all out, put a spray boot up in there and painted it the same place I was doing body work. So, but yeah, the dust is absurd.
It is.
You
It
sand a
is.
little. I'd keep my shop vac, beside me, and I'd sand a little bit and then vacuum, sand and vacuum.
Right.
And somehow you think you're getting it all, but somehow or another, it's still everywhere. Yeah. So, I get it, and I've already told myself I don't ever want to paint a car again.
Yeah, for sure. And when I worked coming up through the industry, I've probably painted and body worked, I don't know, I've probably 8 complete cars.
Mhm.
And like I was okay at it. I was a little slower than I should be, but I was okay. It just came into a business decision like I don't have half the shop to give up as a dirty spot,
Right. Yeah.
Maybe someday it can come back, but
Mhm.
I and staffing it nowadays, like being that I don't like it, I don't know. I don't know who you'd I don't know how you'd find that guy who's willing to spend the time and do things 100% right way when you haven't worked with them for 10 years, knowing that'll do it.
True.
Well, maybe someday, but for now, we'll
Mm.
stick to the stuff I view as fun
Mm.
and keep.
So I assume you've got partnership with a paint and body guy locally.
Well, more or less, yes. I had a really good friend of mine named Chris that he did the paint and body work for the first probably 5 completes we did in business.
Mm.
And he owned his own shop. When I rented commercially, he rented the bay like literally right next door.
Okay.
So there was a lot of back and forth where I could feed him the paint and body, and he could feed me the mechanical stuff he didn't want to do.
Mm.
He ended up moving to Texas about a year and a half ago. So this last, actually, the 56 on the hoist, that was painted by a shop over in Lakeville.
Mm.
They're a Lake Marion collision, but he's a super big, classic car hot rod guy. So that it's obviously in the works right now. It's just in final prime, but
Yeah.
he's who I'm using now, and hopefully that's a good enough relationship to keep using in the future.
Yeah. Cool.
So,
So did you always intend to have your own shop or just kind of?
um, I think anybody who does this probably thinks about it,
Yeah.
to some extent. I would say after the first couple years in the industry, it was a goal.
Mm.
Um, I, you know, working at I worked at Dick's Hot Rod Shop for 10 years, and when Dick passed away, um, I did try going to another shop. I didn't enjoy the way things were done there. It wasn't right for me.
Mm.
And I guess it kind of showed me that there is a right and a wrong way, and I think after seeing that, I felt like I had an opportunity to run a hot rod shop locally the way that I think it should be run.
Mm.
So I don't want to say I was kind of forced into it by any means, but it kind of opened my eyes to like there's some stuff you can do to treat your customers right and righter than some of the other shops around, and I guess here we are. I you know I have a website that, to be honest with you, the only reason I have a website is because my accountant said it'd be a good tax write-off one year. I almost every customer in here is all word of mouth or friends of a friend or whatever. Like I don't promote, not because I don't want to, but everybody in here I know somehow,
Mhm.
and it makes the cars that we work on It makes it like the people,
Mhm.
and it's worked out pretty well so far.
Yeah. Are
So
most of them in the Minnesota area?
yeah, most of them are. I got a couple guys from Iowa,
Mm.
one guy from South Dakota, and then the 56 that's on the hoist. That guy, he's actually from California.
Oh.
Um, it's a kind of a long story. I built a 51 Chevy truck when I was employed at Dick's, and he actually bought it from me about 10 years ago, and we've
Mm.
always kind of stayed in touch. So he shipped me the 56 probably, I don't know, going on a year and a half ago, maybe two.
Hmm.
Because he obviously had my work, he owned
Yeah.
my work.
Right.
So he's like, by the time he said labor rates in California at the time were like $150 an hour,
Mm.
and my labor rate here is 100. So he's like, I ship you the car in the first week it's paid for, so
Right.
it's worked out good. But other than that, yeah, most of them are local.
Yeah. That's
So
cool. You ever see
yeah,
them running around the streets?
yeah,
That's cool. You're
yeah,
like, oh, that's my, I did that car. I did that
yep.
car.
Some of them turn your head too, but that's okay.
Oh, goodness. That's cool. Well, I was going to ask how you got most of your customers. So that's pretty cool that you it kind of creates a family. And I can kind of understand how you would struggle going, try and work for somebody else. Cause I feel like as a car guy that builds cars, you kind of, I guess, create your own style.
For sure.
And if the person you were working with originally, you kind of developed your own style and maybe even perhaps picked up something from them, and then you go somewhere else and they're a different style,
Yeah,
that could create some conflict,
for sure.
I
And
could
it's,
get it.
it's even a little bit more than that to me. Like I value my customers as friends too. I mean,
Mm,
they're when I, it's not it's hard when there are certain like working and hearing about other shops where customers will be there and by the end of the build they're like they're not even on a talking basis anymore.
oh yeah.
It's hard because that kind of wrecks the whole industry for us as business owners, right?
Hmm.
And I look at it a little differently where like I want to be able to take my wife and kids to a car show and not have to turn my head when I walk by a certain car. Like I it's something I do almost every weekend, doing autocrosses or whatever.
Hmm.
You're going to see customers and I want to be able to happy, how's the car, how are things, where I feel like a lot of shops that when they don't end well, that's not the case and I don't think that's right.
Right.
So I really try to strive for that business wise.
Right. Not only that is you, if that person's paying to have their car built, it may be because they don't have the skill set to build it themselves.
For
And
sure.
it could be one of their lifelong dreams to own it. And then things go south and now you've ruined that person's dream and
Oh yeah,
perhaps get them out of the hobby. And then it's another car that doesn't ever make it on the road.
for
You
sure.
know?
For
Yeah,
sure. And
so,
that doesn't work out well for anybody in it.
no,
Hobby, the owner, the shop owner, all the stuff. It just doesn't work out good.
right. Agree. Are you getting a lot of Pro Touring style cars coming in?
Yeah, it's kind of all over the place.
Mhm.
We do get quite a bit done. I think this is the 56 is the second Speed Tech chassis car.
Oh,
Uh,
nice.
so those are fun to do. A couple different roadster shop chassis projects. Going to the local driving schools and autocrosses, it always seems to, guys will come over and ask questions. So I'm sure eventually that'll lead to something in that
Mhm.
world.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say it's, right now it's split. There's a lot of street rods in here, and obviously there's a couple of pro touring deals going on too. So
Mm. Yeah. Is the Speed Tech and Road Stop stuff as nice as it looks in pictures?
yeah, for the
Mm.
most part, yeah. Uh, the Roadster Shop stuff I'm a big fan of aesthetically.
Mhm.
Um, I do think like I do think personally, I think a Speed Tech outperforms the Roadster Shop stuff on the
Mhm.
racetrack and stuff, but they're also two totally different purposes,
Yeah.
you know. So I have a great appreciation for both of them.
Yeah. I
So
I don't I mean all the Roadster Shop stuff seems like it's super high end, sits in a garage or a car show. You know,
yeah,
has anybody actually driven one?
so we did a Le Mans, a '64 Le Mans that was on one of their spec chassis,
Mhm.
and for a nice, you know, it was a higher level build, but for having a basically a a Mustang two spindled front end and a triangulated four link in it,
Hmm.
that car's pretty dang fun to drive.
Okay, that's good. That's
Yeah.
good. Goodness. Well, let's move into the Valiant. I want to learn about this thing.
Okay.
Of course, sweet patina on this thing.
Yeah.
I don't. You, Ryan. I had him on the show. His Valiant has some awesome patina too. So,
Right.
um, what's the story with this car? Where'd you find it?
So back when Craigslist was a thing, my we were going up north to see my wife's family up in Detroit Lakes, and I just happened to go on Craigslist and see that in Bemidji there was a '69 Valiant,
Mm,
and I was like, we're going up there anyways. I'm going to drag the trailer with, and so it was about an hour from where my wife's family is. So I drove over there Saturday morning, and I looked at the car, and it has a sticker on the trunk lid that says like Gray Bull, Wyoming, Gray Bill Motors somewhere in Wyoming,
mm,
and there was zero. There's a spot of rust about this big in one of the quarter panels. Otherwise, the thing was just perfect.
hmm.
And the guy was driving a square body Chevy truck. He pulled his battery out of it, put it in the Valiant, connected the battery cables, dumped some gas down the carb, and drove it up the trailer. And I was like, how can you even argue? It was $1,500.
Oh
It,
God.
it was nothing. So I, handed him the money and walked away
Mm,
with a car. Got home a couple months later. I bought a 6'4" Hemi for it. A couple months after that, I found out we were having our first child. So I actually sold the car to a guy. Um, and kind of regretted it, but didn't really think nothing of it. Obviously, family always comes first.
mm.
Well, he called me 2 years later when we were pregnant with number two,
Great
and he
timing.
said, "Yeah, perfect timing." He's like, and it wasn't running when I never drove it. I had
Mm,
planned on doing all this resto mod stuff too, and I just never did it. Well,
mm,
he called me and he was like, so I got your car running and driving. I did this and did that. It runs good. Put tires on it, whatever. And he's like, but I'm going through a divorce and I don't want my wife to get the car in a divorce. Would you like to buy your car back? And I was like, well, no, we just found out we're, pregnant with number two. And he's like, I'll sell it back to you for the same exact money that I bought it from you. I just don't want my wife to get it. So we bought it back.
mm.
I ended up selling the Hemi I bought for it for $1,000 more than what I paid for it. So I had a running and driving Valiant with two car seats in the back of it for $500.
Was it a slant six car?
Plant 6,
Yeah.
904,
Mm.
leaked tranny fluid, leaked oil like crazy. I mean, it was your typical old molested Valiant.
Right. Perfect.
So
But you can't kill those slant sixes though. So
no, I
it,
I never changed the oil though. I just kept adding, so it was all good.
that's how you know it had oil in it. It was
Yeah,
leaking. Oh goodness. That's cool. So I assume at some point that got retired from family truckster duty.
yeah, definitely did. So it would have been November 3 years ago. Uh, Finally convinced my wife to do it,
Mhm.
uh, and I drove it in the old shop before we purchased this place, and I put it up on the frame table and I cut it from the firewall all the way to the taillights and started building.
The rust-free floor car, huh?
It was. I felt so bad. I tried saving them. I couldn't. It would have been so much work to save them that I just cut them out.
Yeah.
So
It's a six-cylinder Valiant. I mean, come on.
yeah,
I don't know. I got mixed feelings about it. People get heartache when you cut up cars that are solid. But
right,
I mean, even if you restored it 100% factory original, it's a $5,000 car.
for sure, for
You'd
sure.
have $30,000 in a $5,000 car.
Right,
You know.
right. Yep.
So, yeah, definitely worth more than that now. So did you? I assume you had some kind of plan before you started doing that, right?
Yeah. So when I worked at Dick's, we built some pretty high end pro touring race car stuff.
Mm,
Brandon had my old boss and friend. He had a '64 Falcon that We built the chassis and the spindles and all this cool stuff, had spindles machined for it and this and that. And it going down that path in previous endeavors, it was like, I know that if I don't build this thing to the nth degree, like the best of my ability, exactly the way I want it, that I'm never going to be satisfied.
Mm.
So by the time I had convinced myself and my wife just to let's build this thing, I kind of already had, I knew I wanted it to have, it has 295s. I really wanted 315s, but I wanted the biggest tire. I wanted it to sit 4 inches off the ground. I wanted it to be a Hemi,
Mm.
all the things. And when I went into it, I the speed it has the Speedway Motors G comp in it.
Yep.
Um, and I've used their stuff, that the G comp stuff, on a lot of different projects, and I've had really good results with it. And it was
Mm.
also kind of a budget thing, right? Like they're not the $10,000 Detroit Speed stuff. They're a pretty good bang for your buck, at least in my opinion.
Mm.
And I kind of just started accumulating parts, and I cut a bunch of stuff up along the way. I moved all the pivot points around on the front suspension. It does have a torque arm in the back of it that I used their universal torque arm kit, modified things a little bit to sit as low as I have it sitting.
Okay.
But it's, yeah, definitely, the plan changed, but there was somewhat of a plan at the beginning.
Right.
So,
What led you to changing the mounts on the front clip?
so I put all the pinpoints in performance trends,
Okay.
uh, just suspension geometry deal,
Mm.
uh, and some of the camber gain percentages, and like it was okay, but I thought it wasn't quite as aggressive as I wanted the percentages to be.
Mm.
So the biggest move that I did is I put the upper control arm on vertical slugs,
Okay.
so I change
Roll
the center
center.
on everything.
Mm.
And I haven't adjusted it since I set it all up, but I ended up moving the control arm uh, down slightly and back slightly to have more
More caster.
caster in it.
Mm.
And I haven't really messed with it. It hasn't been on the track enough to really consistently know if it's worth trying a change yet.
Mm.
I've had some stuff to fix. I'm finding the limits of things. But yeah, it was just and I'd be the first one to tell you, like, I don't know a ton about it.
Mm.
I My old boss Brandon and I kind of sat down and laid it all out, and just kind of, if there's a way to optimize it when you're at this stage, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, of course. Of
So,
course. What was there like a static camber gain you were trying to achieve?
you know, if I don't remember, I have the paperwork up in the office. I could go
Mm.
grab it. I don't remember off the top of my head what the numbers were.
Mm.
Um, I do know that one of the one of the big things that I didn't like about their setup was that they used a super small stroke shock,
Yeah.
and that bugs me a
Mm.
little bit. So like I cut the upper shock mount off when I did the upper control arm mount, and
Mm.
now they go up to the down bar in the engine bay.
Yep.
So that took a little bit of doing, but I don't remember the exact stuff. It seems like maybe on a day I didn't work on 4 or 5 cars in V, but I don't remember the exact measurements on stuff.
Okay. All right. That's fine. And the torque arms have me really intrigued lately because seems like all the fast guys are on those. And having just autocross, yes, 2 days, Sunday, 2 days
Okay.
ago, uh, and having so much wheel speed out of the turns, and wheel speed not in a great way.
Right.
I mean, it was very, entertaining for the course workers. It's definitely not the fastest way around.
Right.
Uh, so I don't know. I in my mind, uh, I've been thinking about what I need to do to design something up, and um, I don't know enough about it. Um, so like bar angles and the arm angle, and I just need to
Right.
do some studying on that.
Yeah, and you know, I'll be honest with you. Part of the reason I was between truck arms and I was between a torque arm.
Mhm.
And my main reason with that, as silly as it sounds, was is I still want a back seat for my kids.
Well, yeah, and for me, I don't want to cut my car up.
Well, right, for sure.
You
Both,
know,
both of those, yeah.
right?
But you know, I'm the biggest change that I did to it so far was so I don't have any adjustment on the front mount of the arm.
Okay.
On my lower links, I have 3 up and 3 down, front and rear.
Hmm.
So one of the times we were out at DCTC doing one of the driving school or high performance driving experiences, I put more rear steer into the back of it by angling the arms, and I got so loose coming
Hmm.
out of the corners that the first thing I did back in the pits was put it back to being level.
Okay. Which way did you angle them?
So I put the back of the bar up.
Okay, so it's
So
pointing down. Yeah.
correct. So in
Yeah.
theory, it'll pull the bar and turn your inside tire more.
Hmm.
And I hadn't had enough seat time to make a change like that yet. You
Okay.
know, figuring the car out, and I was half used to it the way it was set up. You know, and it was a bad decision. So my first event's going to be May 1st, a
Hmm.
Friday. And if things go well there, I think I'm going to start playing around with some of that.
Okay. Is the arm level under the
Now
car?
it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. In
Both trailing arms and torque arm are level.
on level. And that's kind of what the reading I've done seems like it's a good place to start, I guess.
Yes. It's
Yeah.
and some of it I think too depends if you're going to do autocross or road race and stuff.
Hmm.
I mean, having rear steer to me when you're doing an autocross could really help.
Hmm.
But when you're on the road course, the last thing I expected was coming out of a corner at, you know, 50, 60 miles an hour and wanting the car to step out more than normal.
Right.
You know,
Do you think it'd be better to have more finite adjustment?
I do. That would
Mm.
be one of the small drawbacks of using the Speedway rear was is there, if I remember right, they're inch and a half jumps.
Oh wow, yeah, that's a
So
lot.
like when you make a swing, like that's a lot.
Yeah, because
So
I guess I envisioned what I would build. It would be like half-inch increments,
yes,
you know. Um, and the pivot on the arm, is it directly under the um, front U joint, or is it further back?
it is. It's really close.
Hmm.
The cross member that holds the torque arm is what bolts down the front of my seats. So I think it's actually under the tail shaft of the transmission.
Oh, so it's even further ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's I believe if I'm remembering it right, I think it's about 3 inches past where the U joint is on the
Yeah.
front.
Well, you got that motor set back pretty far, so that's probably why.
Yeah, it's back a long ways.
Have you ever scaled it?
I have not.
Yeah.
I should, but I have never scaled it.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Uh, it'd be interesting to see what it weighs. Because,
I I think it's probably close to 3,500 pounds, to be honest with you.
oh, really? Okay.
Well, it's I when I so what I did when I cut the floor out of it, the rockers on those cars are not perpendicular to the universe. They're angled.
Okay. I
So
didn't know that.
yeah, well, me either. I found out. But what I did is I capped those with eighth inch plate. So essentially, I turned the rockers into rails.
Yeah.
Well, then all the tubing and structure I did inside of it, it I'm only guessing it's quite a bit heavier than what a factory unibody Valiant would be.
Mm.
And obviously too, it's got an iron block Hemi in it, which is heavy.
Uh, you know,
I
I think they're around the same weight as a small block.
Are they?
I think so. I
Yeah,
didn't actually,
I
I weighed I had a small block, aluminum headed small block, air
okay.
conditioned, all the things,
Yep.
and then put the Hemi in it, and it weighs pretty much the same.
Does it really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So,
I'll still do that because that's to be honest with you, like I've only used digital angle finders for the alignment and toe plates. I've never really done an alignment on it.
mm,
Uh, Never scaled it. I took a stab at spring rate, and the first session out,
mm,
it was a little light, so we jumped up a ways,
yeah.
and got all that done. But I've never had it on a scale. I should do that just so I know.
Yeah. That's cool. Is the all the floor is that sheet metal or aluminum?
It's all sheet metal.
Sheet metal.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Does it have air conditioning?
It was intended to.
Okay.
So when I built it, I put a Holly mid mount on the front of it
Hmm.
with the intent of doing an air evaporator and stuff in it. And when we got pregnant with number three, it kind of officially decided that we weren't having a family car anymore because I couldn't fit all five of us in it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of when things shifted to race car rather than hot rod.
Yeah.
Well, it has the provisions. I could do it relatively easily,
Mm.
but it's just not in there right now.
Right.
So,
Man, those Minnesota winters, huh? Popping
ah,
babies out.
yeah, right.
Uh, so, what how many does it have? Is it 6'4"? Did you
It
go
is a
back with the 6'4"?
six-four.
Yeah.
Yep. It was built by Prefix out of Michigan.
Oh yeah.
Uh, that was one of their crate motors. And it has since had a significantly larger cam installed.
Hmm.
But other than that, it's all forged. It's stock cubes.
Mm.
Um, it's really not anything special as far as a motor.
Yeah.
And it was on the dyno Friday of last week, and it was 567 to the tire. I think is what it 567 or 565, something like that.
Dang.
So
Oh, the head stock, ported heads.
no stock heads,
That's crazy. So basically, a 6'4" with a cam.
more or less. Yeah, it
That's
uh, it was five. I should go pull up the paperwork. I think it was 567 at 7,200 is where what it made for power.
ooh, thing was singing.
Yeah, so it's we've got the rev limiter set at 75. So
I hope you got some aftermarket push rods.
we definitely do. They're large.
Yeah. Oh goodness, man, isn't it impressive the horsepower these little
It's just
Hemis make?
crazy. It's
Yeah.
crazy, man. It's you get used to the LS stuff. Doing this, it's like you cam an LS3, and it's like, yeah, it sounds cool. It's got the chop, and it's
Mm.
530 horse. It's fine. It's great. And then you get something. It's amazing what essentially the same thing with a little bit more cubes, but you're literally 50 or more horsepower
Mhm.
out of the Hemi.
Yeah, I have the undesirable early 5.7 in mine, and
Okay.
so pre-Eagle, you know.
Yep. Yep.
It's I ported the heads myself
Okay.
and got camshaft in it and 3,500 pound car went 115 mile an hour and a quarter, which
Wow.
maths out to like 420 wheel,
Right.
you know.
Bad at all.
And that's the redheaded stepchild that gets,
Right.
thrown aside. Nobody wants the pre-Eagle.
So how come you chose that one? Was it a budget thing at the time, or was it just what was available?
Uh Good question. So I was in the middle of building this thing and I had a stroked small block. I've owned this car forever, so it was I was drag racing, detuned. It was 408, detuned it, changed pistons and camshaft, made the intake manifold for port EFI and all that,
Okay. Yep.
welded bungs and
Yep.
made wiring harnesses and all that stuff. And the power tour was passing through town. And I work out of my house. So at my lunch break, I just drove down just to go watch the cars driving by. And they had some old guy standing beside me. We get to talking. And he's like, "Oh, I know a guy selling a Hemi." This guy was pretty old, like no cell phone or anything.
Okay.
He's like he's like, "Give me your phone number. I'm gonna call you." I'm like, so he has a little notepad. He writes down my phone number. I'm like, I'll never hear from this guy ever again.
Right.
That night he called me. Says, "Hey, he's still got the Hemi. Here's his phone number if you want to call him."
Huh.
Call the guy. He's like, "Yeah, give me 500 bucks for it." And it was an hour away. I'm like, "This is a steal."
Right.
And so I went and got it just because it was cheap. And
Yep.
I decided against putting it in the car because I was so into the 408
Right.
put, I literally just put a new camshaft in it and did all the wiring for the FI. So, for a while there, I was teetering on going back and forth, with the Hemi. But then I'm like, I'm gonna go with the 408. Maybe one day I'll put the Hemi in it. And I was actually working towards getting the Hemi ready to put in there, and then I hurt a lifter. on the
Oh,
408. It's a
oh,
solid roller cam, and
okay.
I was on the interstate coming home from somewhere, and I'm like, sounds a little weird. And I actually thought it was pinging. I thought I'd
Oh,
gotten some bad gas, and
okay.
I'm like, that's strange. It's wasn't pinging all day, and now it's pinging.
Right.
And then the next day, started it up to go move it, and when it was cold, it made an even more interesting sound.
Ah,
So I was like, that's not good.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
tried to see what it was with a borescope down, through the head there, and couldn't really see anything. So popped the intake off and like, oh well,
Huh.
I guess I need to expedite this Hemi swap.
Right.
So we went
Right.
that day. I pulled the small block out, and 5 weeks later, the Hemi was in it running.
Oh, nice.
So, I
Very
mean, I had a
cool.
pretty good head start. I mean, I just needed to finish making a wiring harness. I got a big plug on my big Deutz connector on my
Yep. Yep.
firewall. So I just made the wiring harness match the small block.
Oh, okay.
So I just dropped it in, plugged it in, and
Oh, nice.
adjusted the tune and hit the
So
key,
is
and
that
it's
running on like a Holly Terminator or something?
mega squared.
Mega Squirt? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's probably time for an upgrade, but I mean, I don't know. It works.
It's paid for.
It's paid for and it works. And quite honestly, to get the same amount of IO I have on it, I'd have to spend like 4 grand on,
Right.
add-on modules for the Holly and or some other
Right.
fancy setup. And yeah, it's good for the budget.
Right.
But I'm about to do a head swap on it though.
To go up
It's
to Apaches?
6-1 heads,
Okay.
6-1
Okay.
heads and intake. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Cool.
I mean,
That'll make a difference.
I think it will. I mean, the heads, I mean, you can just look at the ports. They're substantially bigger. And then the valves are bigger too. So,
100%. Yeah.
so because, I'm already having a little bit of a traction problem. So the only way to fix that is more horsepower.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's always the answer.
Yes. I know the one thing that obviously I'm fairly happy with the power that the car does. It's when I bought the motor, it had a prefix had a really tall single plane on it.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
what
yeah.
when they put it in their TA2 cars.
Mm,
And I was so dead set on being able to shut my hood that
mm.
it
Oh,
it wouldn't work.
mm,
So I bought one of the Holly single planes for it, and when I remember doing it and talking with my tuner buddy, he's like, if there's going to be an Achilles heel, it's going to be right there. And now it starts making vacuum relatively low in the RPM.
oh, wow.
So it's like if you could put a different single plane, like my old one,
Mm,
I mean, it pulled enough vacuum where he thinks it'd be like a pretty substantial, like 30, 40, 50 horsepower gain by putting a
dang.
big single plane on it. But I just refuse to change the aesthetics at this point.
Yeah, I mean it's a juggling act, right? I mean, those early 5.7 intakes, well, pretty much all of the plastic intakes, they're all ugly. But I actually sanded off all the raised
Oh, really?
plastic and
Okay.
yeah, I smoothed it out completely. And
Yep.
because I always used to say I'm just trying to knock the ugly off the engine.
Yeah.
So, uh, it's all painted orange, black intake, intake's black valve covers and all. So I
Yep.
think it
Yep.
did a decent job knocking the ugly
Right.
off. So,
Right.
and I got 6.1 intake to match the
Okay.
heads, of course, and I painted it black. So it's probably going to look very similar,
Right.
just
Right.
run better.
Yep.
Um, actually, if you put the stock 6.4 intake on your car, although it's ugly, with the SRV valve,
For sure.
it, is that? Yeah, SRV. Yeah, it'd
Yep.
probably do pretty good.
I think so. It's just so hard with like because I did the engine bay bars and all that stuff.
Mm,
I don't know. Not that I couldn't make a bar or change a bar, whatever, but
yeah,
yeah, it's just so different,
it's the
and
appearance right now.
it is. It is. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, cool. So you said you had 295s. That's on the front and the back.
Yep. Rear's 315s.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah.
So I noticed Speedway clips have different widths. Which width did you go with? Do you remember?
So I actually bought a 54 track width, which is no, let me back up. I bought a 50, I'm forgetting, they have a 56, 58. I bought a 56 track width.
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't like where the scrub radius was.
Hmm.
So the difference, which is I redid all the pinpoints when we did this, but the difference between the 58 and the 56 is 1 inch longer arms.
Mm.
So I actually bought a 56 and put 58-inch, 1 inch longer arms on it, so I could get the scrub radius a little bit better.
Oh, nice.
Uh, and then I was able to put a little bit more backspace on the wheel doing that.
Hmm.
So
That's a big tire in the front. Was that is that a 10-inch wheel?
it's an 11.
11-inch wheel.
Yeah, so it's 18 by 11s in the front and 18 by 12s in the rear.
Whew.
So
Man, that sucker must stick.
for the most, it's I'm still learning the car,
Okay.
and the front of the car, it goes wherever you want it to go. I have
Mm.
yet to really have an issue with that. I got to figure out the rear. I If I get out of a corner too early, I will definitely push and slide. And some of that obviously could be right foot induced. But I got to figure out the rear.
Mm.
That's my goal for the first couple times out this year is I got to get the rear figured out.
Right.
So
Okay. Huh. Does it have a sway bar in the rear?
it does.
Mm.
It's got a little 26-inch wide. I think it's a half-inch bar is what I have in it
Yeah.
right now.
Maybe disconnect it, see if it makes a
For
difference.
sure. And I've never, I put a dirt car slider style panhard bar adjustments on it.
Mm.
I just have it relatively close to the center. So
Mm.
between disconnecting the sway bar or keeping it connected and changing the roll center in the rear, that's one of those two is going to be the first adjustment this year to see if I can make it tame.
Right. Okay. Now, did you do any autocrossing prior to building this car?
Just a little bit.
Mm.
When the guy from California bought my 51, prior to that, we had done a couple local, like the Carcraft Summer Nationals had an autocross,
Mm.
and then we did a couple different good guys shows, but nothing as serious with that as what this car could be. So
Mm.
this is my first, like, I'm going to build it to go do, SCCA or that type of stuff.
Mm.
So
Right. Do you have an SCCA nearby?
there is an SCCA close over at Tacona County Technical College. They do track night in Americas over there, and
Mm.
then they do at the state fairgrounds. They do a couple events up there.
Okay,
Uh,
good.
I, to be honest with you, I like the road racing stuff a little bit better than
Mm.
autocross right now.
Okay.
Um, I don't know if it's a speed thing and an adrenaline thing, but I obviously the car is intended to do both.
Mm.
So I hope to get out and do a combination of both of them this year
Yeah.
for sure.
I mean, it's definitely a road course car because it's shaped like a brick, you
Well,
know?
for sure. Yeah, best arrow you can buy, right?
Right. Is it T56 trans?
TKX 5 speed.
TKX.
Yeah.
All right. Do you like it?
Um, I do. I broke it one of the last times I was out last year. Um, I ended up sending it to Liberties
Mm.
um, and had them they replaced a synchro and a shift fork and then did REM and cryo and all the stuff to it so that hopefully I can mitigate any problems in the future. But as prior to me really missing that shift, I really do like it. And in that car, I was so concerned about space. That's
Mm.
why I convinced myself to do a 6 speed. I mean, them things are giant when you're trying to make room
And heavy.
and heavy and
Mm.
heavy. And it originally had a Ram twin in it.
Mm.
And when I pulled the transmission apart, um, I don't remember why I had it apart. Might have been when we were replacing lifters in the motor. Um, I had a Ram in it, and it was actually starting to heat mark pretty good already.
Mm.
So I took the Ram out and I put a quartermaster setup in it. And as soon as I put the quartermaster setup in it, that's when I really started enjoying the transmission.
Was it not as grippy as the other one?
So I had always felt like I'd always felt like the throwout bearing wasn't working right with the Ram. No matter
Mhm.
what I did to it, bled it, shimmed it. I never felt great about it. And then it with the Ram, I felt like it was, and it was a dual friction deal.
Mm,
So I felt like I could almost feel the first disc grab,
mm.
and the second disc would grab. Like it's almost like it was a step grab.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it was just a goofy feeling, and it got better as it wore in. But
Mm.
as soon as I put the quartermaster in it and actually got it broke in, it's a crazy difference in how it feels.
Is that that's a single disc setup?
No, that's a dual.
It's
That's a
still
12.
dual.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I still run a old school Centerforce, and that thing's
Yeah.
been that knock on wood. It's been
Yeah.
great.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I had a my throw up Aaron went out last summer. I say went out. It was making a lot of racket. So uh and I was fully expecting to probably have to replace the pressure plate and the clutch
Yep.
disc. Man, I'm like, I'm putting this thing right back in. There's nothing
Oh,
wrong with it.
nice.
Yeah, so
Nice.
um I was happy with that. But I've often think, what am I going to get if when this thing wears out? And
Right.
I mean, it's kind of hard to beat what works.
Oh, 100%.
You know,
100%.
I mean, I still have a mechanical linkage.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I'm not a
Okay.
fan of hydraulic throw bearings
I gotta ask why.
because of what you just said. You said you had
Ah,
problems, and
yeah.
a friend of mine with a '69 Nova, a TKX, and a hydraulic clutch. He autocrosses with me.
Okay.
Texted me Sunday morning, dude, throw up Aaron's dead.
Really?
Yep.
Huh.
So,
Well, I guess if yours works, then leave it alone, man. No problems is awesome.
none. I mean, it's great. I mean, I made new rods and everything. So
Right.
I don't know if you're familiar with the factory Mopar rods. They're super sloppy and
Yep.
garbage. I made, solid rods with Heims on each end.
Okay.
So, and
Okay.
and honestly, if you disconnect from the clutch, the pedal just swings super freely, like
Okay.
nothing's even there. So
That's nice.
it's as easy as a hydraulic clutch would be,
Right.
So
Right.
I'm a stick with mechanical linkage for life till I can't.
Yeah.
And I'll I mean I have a TKO trans also,
Okay.
but one day I'd like to maybe get a TKX.
Did you have anything done to your TKO when you put it in, or was it just a stock TKO?
It's stock.
Stock.
Hasn't
Okay.
haven't broken it yet, but
Okay.
I feel like it's on borrowed time.
Hmm. Just
It
because
does
of the abuse you put it through, or what?
it does not like shifting at high RPM.
Ah. Okay.
I mean, I
Yeah.
don't do that often,
Right.
but when I do, it makes some noises that don't seem conducive for a long life.
I love your wording. That's awesome.
So, but no, it still shifts great.
Yeah.
Change of fluid ever often to keep the
Right.
particles out of it. But
Yep. That was one of the reasons I convinced myself to do the TKX2 was they claim right out of the box is 7,500. Well, going into it when you know your motor is going to be there or potentially a little bit more, it's kind of like, well, you might as well do what you can to
mm,
make that be okay.
yeah, does it take those high RPM shifts? Okay.
Yeah, last year the chip was at like 72 and I'd shift at 7 no problem.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I don't, I'm also not a sponsored race car driver. So kind of, if I can keep the RPMs down a little bit, I think I'll make everything live a little bit longer, but shifting at 7,000 is no problem for it.
Right.
So,
Honestly, the hardest weekend of its life is at Mo Party because we drag race and then we do 3S, which is also dead stop launch.
right.
So yeah, that's the hardest weekend of it because normal driving and normal autocross, I don't typically rev it out that high to get into second gear for
Okay.
to autocross is
Right.
typically because I'd rather have both hands on the steering wheel as quickly as possible.
Right. Right.
It always seems like my gearing set up too, where if I do rev it out, then I'm having to shift and turn at the same time,
Ah,
which that
yeah.
those two things don't go hand in hand. So,
Right. I know
but
at some point I should probably ask you about Holly Mo Party because I really want to go to that. I also don't have a lot of Mopar enthusiast friends, and I
oh,
got a
you
hard
could fit in with us.
well, I got a hard time driving from Minnesota to Bowling Green without knowing a soul.
Well, you know me, and I'll be there.
Okay. Well, maybe there can be a couple questions asked at a later date about how all that would
Yeah.
work.
Yeah. I just registered last week. It just opened up. So, yeah, we got a big group. Shoot. I bet there's at least a dozen of us or
All with
more.
like old school Mopars.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Or
Okay.
trucks.
Or
And
trucks.
we've been regulars for several years and
Okay.
um we kind of all keep in touch throughout the year,
Okay.
bust balls and all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
but no, it very welcoming community, I guess is the best way to put it. I think everybody that you talk to that's attended, particularly the guys that do the Grand Champion with vintage cars and trucks,
Right.
they'll tell you the same. That
Okay.
very welcoming. Pop up a chair, sit around, talk. You
Worth
know.
going to.
Oh, absolutely. I won't miss it.
All right. Okay.
It always lands on my wife's birthday.
Well,
It's
what a great present.
either before or after. And this year it's on her birthday, but
Happy birthday.
hey, uh, we'll just celebrate a little bit early.
Now, does she go with you to that type of stuff, or is it not her thing?
That's not for
Okay.
her. Although I am doing autocross week this year,
Okay.
and I floated by the idea by her if she wanted to be my co-pilot for the week, and she agreed to do it. So
Oh, really? Good for you.
yeah, so
Fun.
may not be married at the end of the week. I don't know. Or I'm going to be buying her a one-way ticket from Nashville back home. I don't know. So I've asked her probably 50 times. Are you sure you still want to do this? Are you sure? So uh, if you
That'll be
back
fun.
out, I need time to find somebody.
Right. That'll be fun though.
I think it'll be fun. I mean, she's not against it. She's just not a fan.
Okay.
Uh, and she gets motion sickness, so she doesn't really like riding in the car on the
Ah,
autocross course either.
yep.
So um, she said she'll do it once. Okay. Well, how about you do it on the last run of the day
Right.
so it doesn't ruin your entire day?
Right. Right.
So
Right.
we'll see. I think it's going to be fun. It'll be a new adventure for the two of us. So I'm looking forward to it for sure.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
Well, I'll reach out at some point to you because I mean, I don't know anything about hotels to stay at. I mean, none of that stuff about going down there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Bowling Green's a pretty nice area. So there's lots of options
Okay.
and things. But yeah, happy to help. And I know a lot of people would really like to see that car for sure.
Okay.
It'd be well taken for sure. Um, so let's see, almost at an hour. Hey, let's wrap up with some quick questions here.
Okay.
Uh, what's your favorite part of owning the hot rod business?
I enjoy the relationships that you build through the process.
Mhm.
I enjoy getting to know the customers. Both most of the customers are men, but their wives and that type of stuff. The relationships that you gain. The reality is we build a lot of people dreams,
Yep.
and that's a pretty rewarding thing at the end of that process.
Right. Yeah.
So,
You
that.
see these TV shows when they unveil cars to people, and I feel like that's probably pretty fun to do that. Yeah.
It it's the it's very rewarding.
Mm.
I uh it's a lot different than going to get your daily driver fixed. Everybody who gets their daily driver fixed, they're all mad because they got to spend money on their tool. And
Right.
this is people's cabins, this is people's boats. Like, most of these guys, they don't have that stuff. Like, this is their hobby, this is their everything. And to get at the end of it, one in particular comes to mind where the guy literally breaks down in tears because he restored his father's truck. It's like, we didn't do everything, but I'm glad we could be a part of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Um, well, I had a question to ask if you were going to go to Mo Party. We covered that. Uh, so what's the future hold for the Valiant?
um well, May 1st. I'm going to get that out of the way first. That's first and foremost. I probably didn't say this, but I put 5 power steering pumps on it last year.
Mm,
So I'm going to make sure that I don't have power steering issues this year.
okay.
And then I would seriously like to do Mo Party. I would like to do a couple different sessions up at Brainerd on the
Oh, that'd
road
be
course
cool.
up there.
Mm,
Um, I don't know. At some point, I'd like to do an Optima event
mm,
or two. Don't know how far out that is, but I'm going to find the limits of it. Whether that's me as a driver or the car,
mm.
but I'm going to keep creeping towards that for sure.
That's good. That's good. Well, we can wrap it up there, but before we do, where can people find you or your shop to check out the cars?
So the website's innovativerodandcustom.com, and we have both Facebook and Instagram at Innovative Rod and Custom.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Charlie. It was great talking to you.
You too.
All righty.